Are you curious to learn more about the health of your business? My name is Jayne Latz. Many of you know me as the communication trainer. I run a communication training company that specializes in developing strong communication skills, improving public speaking, and modifying accents. And our goal is to empower our clients, whether they're individual or in an organization, to communicate confidently and effectively in any situation, whether it is giving a presentation, leading a meeting, or simply engaging in everyday conversation. And many of you know that we have a very unique niche in working with non-native English speakers. Today, we are going to discuss why business health needs communication, a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and something in the years that I was a speech language pathologist in healthcare noticed was definitely missing outside of the speech language pathology service. To join me in this conversation is an expert, a friend, and a colleague named Dr. J.C. Baker. And I think you will not just derive such great knowledge today, but you will enjoy the value that he brings. He is the founder of the Business Hospital. The Business Hospital is the only one in the world operating in 14 countries. Dr. Baker is a doctor in business administration with a focus in organizational leadership and a certified professional in finance. Did you even know that someone could have that many certifications and that much knowledge? Well, he is with us today. And if that's not enough, he is a 6-time and #1 best-selling author with textbooks on how to launch a business and how to make good business decisions. And I advise you to read those books and reach out to Dr. Baker, unlike myself, who started the business without reading his textbooks. I don't think they were around 17 years ago. He has invented the Business Health Index and Investment Health Index to successfully treat over 1,000 businesses. So if you are not impressed at this point, you may want to click off and go somewhere else. But for all of you that are impressed, stay tuned because I have a few questions and I have a feeling you may have questions as well. This is not live. However, we will have an evergreen comment section. So please feel free forever to post your questions so that you can learn more about the Business Hospital and all that Dr. Baker has to offer. Did I leave anything out about your introduction, Dr. Baker?
No, not at all. You did a fantastic job. Thank you so much. And I promise you, as an expert in communications, you did that much better than I could.
Thank you. Thank you. And I hope so, because, people are always expecting that of me. I actually told a story a couple of days ago to my YouTube channel just to digress for a minute. And it's so funny because I've never brought this up ever. And this is my second time in about 5 days. But when my parents both passed away, they passed away in the state of Florida. They were coming back to New York. So I was fortunate enough to have a plane ride to create their eulogies, which just flowed naturally for anyone out there who is lucky enough to still have parents. When that time comes, it probably will flow naturally because you have so much to say. But when it came time, especially for the first one, because my parents passed very close together, and my mom filled the room. My dad was on a Mother's Day, so everybody was with their families, but everybody was looking at me as a public speaker, that they expected me to deliver a dynamic eulogy. And I am happy to say I did not fail to deliver. So now my subscribers, my audience, my new subscribers, my new viewers, and if it's new viewers for Dr. Baker or myself, be sure to subscribe. So I am going to begin by asking you, can you explain the importance of knowing your business health for all the business owners that are out there, and not just business owners, but for those individuals who are thinking of becoming a business owner?
Well, you've got a reality that almost everyone, and I know I'm talking in generalities, but it's a very common practice to talk about how much money you make, how much revenue you generate, and that being the determination of success for your business. But that's really not the case. The health is most important. Some businesses do not need to scale really high or have a lot of employees. Sometimes they can implode in the event that they grow too fast or they grow too big. So the business health is what really matters, understanding the long-term viability of a business and what metrics exist so that you can turn around and say, you know what, I'm really healthy enough to operate this business, no differently than how you look at your body. You know, a lot of people have a hard time with identification of self-worth and of self-value. They look at their body type based on certain images, and those images don't always denote health. That's why it's important to know what your cholesterol is, to know what your blood pressure is, to know what your resting heart rate is, and on and on and on. And so in business, it's the same way, is that we have to speak in ways that says, you know what, well, how healthy is your human capital management? Do people like where they're working? Are they effectively committed to the organization, or are they normatively committed to that organization? Normatively meaning that they're obligated to be there. Is there a scenario where your supply chain is unhealthy and you don't really have good control over it? Is your revenue channels broken or fragmented? Do you have one large whale supporting your business, or is it balanced out amongst a lot of different clients and or customers? And so all of that has to do with health, and that's not the way that we communicate it in the United States. We typically talk about how much money did you make, and then how much more are you going to make the next year over the previous year. And that's only one way of looking at a business.
When would you say is a good time for people to reach out to you? When they are first thinking of the business, when they are starting the business, or at any point in the longevity of their business?
Well, you know, for us, it's at any time. And actually, it's sooner than later. And it's always more about preventative care than it is about rescuing someone from morbidity. And when we talk about morbidity, we're talking about the failure of a business. You know, you've got, let's say you're a new business owner and you're really excited about, you know, bringing your product or service to market. Now you have that enthusiasm, you have that fervor, and you're ready to go out there and really tell the world what you have, only for you not to get the results you want right out the box. And now you struggle and you hear some more no's and you get some rejections that you weren't quite ready for. Now, all of a sudden, it stifles your creativity. It stifles your enthusiasm. You now think you're a failure when really you might not have known what was a healthy market entry point. You pretty much took it from how you felt and what maybe some others had said, but none of them were measures of health. I liken it to being excited about running a marathon, but you didn't check with your physician first to make sure that your heart could handle it, or to make sure that your knees could handle it. And so you go out there to go run and you don't get the result you're looking for. And that's because you didn't monitor your health first. Let's say you've been in business a long time and you feel like you got a handle on what you're doing, but markets change, industries change, technology changes, people thoughts change. And now you don't so much find yourself essentially participating in that industry in the way in which you were before. You know, it's funny how, and I think you can attest to this, things that you could say before in the office place, you can't say now. And those things were pretty common before. Now they're not common now. And you're trying to find out, well, how do I make good sense of this? Because I don't want to be offensive. I do want to convert, but there's so many psychological barriers and measures that exist. All of these things are health metrics. And so because they are, a new business owner or a potential business owner needs treatment, just like someone that's been at it for 25 years still needs business treatment. What we typically find is that people will call us right when their ailments are the worst. We call that cancerous level 4, to where they need, Dr. Baker and his team to then jump in and then do a miracle to pull them out of whatever that issue might be, or they're in need of money. They think that they need a capital raise or they need a fundraising campaign. And when I hear them, they're saying, if I could just get my hands on 100 grand, or if I could just get my hands on $500,000. And we're saying we should have had some other metrics put in place well in advance of you believing that you need dollars. So to specifically answer your question, it's all the way throughout your life cycle, from inception to execution. That's when you need treatment.
It's such a good point what you bring up, especially about the language and what you say. For 17 years, I have worked with non-native English speakers to advance their careers. I personally think the training that we give them is the greatest gift of their career, because what CEOs, what owners of organizations, what management doesn't always realize is that this training will help them get the promotions. And without that training, they are gently going to be held back. And possibly because HR or management doesn't know how to articulate it and say it, they're not going to offer it. And over my years, 17 years, unbelievable results, life-changing, career-changing, there have been CEOs who have said, we can't, that's too sensitive an issue to promote your aspiring leaders. So it's how you say it. And like what you just said, you don't wait until now they've been a disaster and you're fed up. As soon as you see that they are an aspiring leader, but there is a communication challenge, you offer professional development. We never want to wait until the breaking point, because then people they don't even know where to start. And you could give them the best advice, but they're so overwhelmed with all that's wrong that they're stuck in place. So it's so true. It's of course about communicating so that they know to reach out to you. And again, that's one of the reasons I have you here, so people know about the business hospital and all that you offer to help these businesses.
Absolutely. I think you make some really good points on that. And that in this instance is that if you are not checking the health of your business regularly, meaning that I'm looking at the industry, I'm looking at how things work, then you've got a real big issue then.
Absolutely.
You got a really big issue. And then by that time, it could legitimately be cancerous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like that little dark spot that shows up and you ignore it and you ignore it until it's a bigger problem. So we all have to know not to ignore those little problems, but to jump right in to have a fix. So let's talk about communication, because that's my favorite topic. How does communication play a role in the health of a business?
Oh, I'm sorry. It starts with how you think about your business, and then your thoughts become your words. And, communication is really a funny topic, because you hear it in marriages, you hear it amongst, relationships, amongst friends and in business, but it's the giving and, more importantly, the receiving of information. But how that information is received can be very complex. So for an example, if I were to say consideration, what does that mean to you? Well, everyone could have a definition of consideration. They might say, well, you were being thoughtful of me, or you took my thoughts into account. But if this was about money, consideration is actually the exchanging of currency for goods and services. And so the definition is completely different, even though the word is the same. So why is that important? It's because you can say something in the workplace, or you can say something in the realm of business, and it could mean two different things to whomever that person is receiving. So therefore, how you define things, so the denotation and the connotation of words, how they come to mean inside of culture, how things have changed globally, and that impact on whatever business you may have. So communication is key to the fact that it always takes place. How you write it, how you say it, how you position it, the frequency of your communication, that literally is the lifeline of all businesses. And so it's funny when I talk to my business patients about what they should and shouldn't do, I tell them it's always contextual. And it's contextual based on how they see the world, what they can execute, and the resources that they have access to. But all of that has to be combined with how you articulate that amongst your stakeholders and your constituents and your team members. And so it's a never-ending, evolving reality amongst those working together and those that are what I call interdependent amongst one another.
I'm smiling when you're talking because, again, individuals that learn about the business hospital that want to thrive in business, are lucky enough to know of the business hospital and reach out. And I can't help but think to myself, wouldn't it be great if the medical hospitals would also understand how important communication is when doctors are working with patients? It's so sad in today's world that our communication is now a portal online that sometimes, and I am a patient of a very large hospital chain in the New York area, and I always complain to my husband because he happens to be a physician at that hospital. From the time I get that message that you have new communication, it could be 15 minutes until you find that communication. So the medical hospitals really do need to listen to this and learn how to be as strong a communicator as Dr. Baker and the business hospital.
That's a big part of our work because we work in every business, every class. And so if we're talking to a catering company or we're talking to a tech company, we know that our frequency of communication to them, the language they speak, all of that becomes very important. And we have to take what we call our diagnosis and then translate that into the language where they can execute it in their space and within their world. And it has to be timely as well. How bad is communication? And there's something that we do which won't sound funny right now, it only is funny in real time. But a lot of times when you're supposed to tell somebody something and you forget, then they're reminded. And they say, weren't you supposed to tell me? And then you turn around and tell them then. Well, it's too late now. It's after the fact. But even the timeliness of your communication is key because decisions need to be made, dollars are spent, jobs are on the line, advancements can be made on and on. And so all of that has to, the number one, come down from the leadership by setting that standard, and then two, perpetuated by the followers.
Again, I smile when you talk about the translating into a language that they understand, because whether it's business and finance or whether it's the medical world, the person speaking often doesn't take into account who the receiver is. And it's on both of those. So I certainly can speak from receiving financial information. There are people that introduce their service and they speak in such terminology that's specific to their industry that the listeners are often lost. They don't even get what it is that they do or serve. Similarly, physicians, and again, I bring my husband into this because I won't have him watch this video, but he hears it. My husband does not know how to dummy down or patient focus his interpretation of something medical. And as long as I'm with him, if he answers a question there's so much medical jargon, and these old dogs can't always learn new tricks. And
Well, it becomes very, very tough when, you're looking to get something done, and let's say it's medical, and I say, yeah, you might suffer duodenal erosion. Well,
right,
all that means is tummy ache. So
right,
you probably should say tummy ache to certain members of your audience, and to other members, you should say duodenal erosion. No
right,
differently if you made a financial term and said, how was your EBITDA? Well,
right.
to some people, you should exactly say EBITDA, and to others, you should say, kind of where did you land last year after everything was spent and taken out of all your accounts? What was that?
Right.
And so because of that, you have to know your audience, and knowing your audience helps you understand how to communicate better. And really better, it could be subjective, but effectively it's not. And effectively means that you both understand and you're able to accomplish the very goal that you set out to accomplish.
So true. So true. And again, it just goes back to knowing your audience, understanding who is listening, uh, and being able to communicate in the best mode to those individuals. So, well said. If I didn't cover it yet, I do have one last question. Can you explain how communication serves as the common denominator for all things business?
Mhm. It does, because the key component in business is some level of commerce taking place. Someone is spending currency for something. And so in there, if the business owner is not properly articulating what it is that they have to provide, then their intended audience never does receive that thing. I was in a patient appointment earlier today, and this is a business owner that's had a business for 10 years. And he told me, I was asked at an event this week, what is it that I did? And I didn't know how to explain it. And they've been doing it for 10 years. They've been taking care of their family in a certain way for 10 years and did not have a concise way of explaining what they do. And that is very detrimental to him. It's not that it's going to crater his business, but he might lose that opportunity or future opportunities simply because he never thought about what he did in a holistic way, narrow it down to whatever audience he's speaking to say, this is what I offer, this is how you can participate, and this is why it's valuable. And so for a business owner, having the ability to articulate your product and services to your appropriate target audience is paramount. And then when it comes to someone that needs a service, my daughter is tough for this because she's 9, but let something, happen to her, headache, stomach ache, irritable, hungry, something, and she can get into a mode where you can't quite figure out what's wrong with her because she's not quite articulating where her pain is coming from or what the issue is. And now I know her whole life, so therefore I can, infer some things. But if she had to explain it to someone else, it would be difficult. And so it's hard to get help when you can't even articulate the thing you're looking for. That's why communication is so key in business, is because we end up with bad services, bad products, making bad hires, on and on, simply because we haven't thought about what we should say, who's the intended audience, and then we're not executing what we should say in a way that can be received appropriately and in a meaningful way.
Excellent, excellent. One of the phrases I use all the time in terms of our communication training is develop clear, articulate, and concise communication. And that concise is so important, whether it's medicine or business. I've done research extensively for several years, and the number one communication behavior that interferes most with business success, according to CEOs of mid to large size companies, is the individual that rambles, because the most important information gets lost in the weeds. The more they ramble, the more that information is lost, whether it's your medical business feedback, whether it's health and physical, feedback. But the theme here for the business hospital, for communication training, is to deliver your message in a clear, articulate, and concise manner.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have brought up incredible points today, really valuable, very important for the health of everybody's business, including mine. It's there are many gifts we could give ourselves in life and in business. And this is certainly a gift that business owners can give themselves. I will certainly have your contact information in the description box. And as I said, we'll allow comments to come in so, we can keep answering questions that come in. Is there anything additional that you would like to share that I haven't covered in our fireside chat?
I just want everyone to remember that don't compare your businesses to everyone else's business. Your business is unique to yourself. Even if you have a t-shirt business, don't compare your t-shirt business to someone else's t-shirt business. It's yours. It's based on your resources, your knowledge, your network, and other factors that are unique to you. Just focus on the health of your business. Focus on articulating what you have and get the help that you always need in the event that you aren't progressing in the way in which you see fit.
And by the way, Dr. Baker, can't we really say that about every individual, whether you own a business or not? Don't look around. Don't look at what everyone else is doing. Be the best version of yourself.
Right.
I think that was so well said. And I thank you so much for being a guest here. I want to remind everybody that I'm Jayne Latz, also known as the communication trainer. I love each and every one of my subscribers. And if you are not yet one, please be sure to subscribe now. We build every day. We share so much great content. Obviously, it's all related to communication, and I am just delighted that Dr. Baker joined us today to discuss the importance of communication in business health and all related to the business hospital. So thank you for joining me today, Dr. Baker.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
All right, bye.